Hey everyone, this is Austin Schur here with We Read About Music, and today I am back on again with Wildcat Hawkins. We are going back in the past. We're talking about his 2021 released album, Pre-Copernican. I'm super excited to talk to him all about it. Thank you for being here, as always. What's up? How are you?
Oh, I'm chilling in Austin, just been staying busy, shooting a lot of shots, playing basketball, and getting some rest I needed really badly. Uh,
Nice.
put it
The
that way.
weather looks nice outside from what I can see.
We've got the best ball in Minnesota right now. I'm so grateful for that. Kind of like Hoosiers, or it's kind of like football when you're outside, but then it's basketball instead.
That's awesome. Well, hey, listen, the last time we spoke, which wasn't too long ago, we talked about the lead single from this record, Can't Stop It With You. Now, for everyone who might not have listened to this record, without a doubt, it's your most different and diverse record, in my opinion. If you were to stack up this record next to literally anything that you've ever made, you almost wouldn't be able to tell that it's from the same artist. Yet I still think that it shows off the depth of what you're able to create. So I want to get into that. Why the departure in sound on this past record?
Yeah, basically, that's the thing about this one. It's kind of like a glorified mixtape, in my opinion, or that's how I viewed it at first. But
Totally.
the more I listened to it, it was kind of like I do like listening to it all the way through. So it is an album, I guess, basically.
100%. I mean, mixtape album, two different words, but they can also mean similar things, I think. I think this one definitely falls into more album territory. I sense a real flow out of it. Obviously, every song is different. They have different themes, they have different sounds, mainly electronic, lots of hip hop, but even some acoustic stuff. You still manage to kind of ride the wave of the cohesiveness in it.
It just the tracks I was working on revealed this kind of album flow like this, sort of like with a progressive album feel of different songs possibly flowing together kind of feel.
Sure.
Is what I found. But basically, what it amounted to was just getting around to some sounds that I hadn't really gotten around to yet, which was just to make some beats that do sound like hip hop pretty much. I
Yeah.
do some raps on a couple of them. One was produced by an artist named Justice Son. So when I made this song called Redemption, I wasn't the one that was creating that industrial sound. That was Justice Son.
Okay.
And then I did another collaborative one was the song called Foothills is produced by David Adam, who is a
Oh,
guy that I like a lot. He has a lot in common with me in some ways and is very talented. So that was that.
nice. I'm really happy that you shouted out the collaborators here because I mean you can tell that there's so much going on here. Like for one person to do this would just be a big task to take on. And then you compare it to all your other records where it's primarily you. You do everything. You write, record, produce, do the whole thing. How did this one come to be in terms of adding people on?
Well, for starters, it's like I know I like listening to some of these beats without any rap on it, basically. So
Yeah,
then there was an instrumental hip hop sound that I included to show that sound. And then it comes together quicker because I just had the tracks laying around pretty much. And Justice Son was a cool artist that I knew, and we discussed it, and I got the instrumental from him. I was sitting around writing lyrics all afternoon for that, and then I tracked it and just sent that back to him. I made a preliminary mix to it, and then I sent it back to him, and he kind of finished it. So
sure. What is your relationship with these collaborators? Like, how did you find them? Were you friends? How did it all come to be?
Justice Son is a cool guy that is somewhat of a spiritual character, I would say, and he lives in the Menominee, Wisconsin area. So that was local to where I was living at the time. And David Adam is a guy who I found through a Facebook group. This is a very good story to tell. It was
Yeah.
a group that was looking for unusual music, basically,
Oh,
and we just
okay.
yeah, I noticed he had a good sound, so I started chatting with him pretty much, and he's been a friend. and he's going through some mental health hurdles that he's does a good job with, I would say, and I relate with him in that regard. And I also think he's very talented. So I can't say enough about David Adam. I would like to do some rap and sing stuff with his
Yeah,
sounds here and there because he's just on a certain type of level that I'm looking for, basically.
that's awesome. So what did the conversation look like? There's obviously so many different Facebook groups for everything, but for someone looking for like, I guess, interesting music, yeah, what was the conversation like in the first place?
I think that I started chatting with him because he had some type of comment on the thread or something that I agreed with or something like that. But I just started chatting with him in the messenger stuff, and it wasn't long before I listened to some of his more of his stuff on SoundCloud.
Mm-hmm.
That was where I found this song called Foothills and Mountains, and then the name was shortened for this album to Foothills. But I loved the sound of it, and it was a mixed down track that had been just sitting around in a vault sort of thing for a few years, not being used for much. And then I said, let's give that a try. I wrote some lyrics and sang them. My ex Brianna also gave a very good vocal for that. Did a nice job on that harmony,
Nice.
and it gave another flavor, I guess, there. But that was really it, basically. Uh, and David Adam is a guy that makes music with a guitar and also electronically. So
Oh,
he reminds me of myself in that way, kind of, and he's just put out a lot of music.
interesting. Listen, so the album itself is 13 tracks long. I see in terms of like the collaborations, for who's credited, there's only a couple songs. Is that correct?
Yeah, I did everything there. A couple of the songs used a Groove Pad app. I should mention that. That's part of the user agreement. And that's kind of like an MPC where you push buttons in real time to create an electronica mix, basically.
Oh,
And
okay.
that was another credit I should share. And also, but yeah, it was just those two songs. Everything else was produced by myself.
Got it.
And I had these tracks. And when I say glorified mixtape, to give you an idea of what happened in this lo-fi universe.
Sure.
Um, Basically, I had all these songs, and I was going to do further stages of mixing, but the computer crashed.
Ooh, that's the worst.
Well, the funny thing was, I liked the way they sounded. Kind of like I said, it has a bit of a lo-fi sound, but I like it anyway. So,
Yeah,
and
that
then
makes sense.
I hired Stage Audio to help me with mastering for this,
Sure.
and they did mastering on it in Nashville. They always do a good job for that. So.
Yeah, it sounds fantastic. And I think the thing with this record is that I think a majority of people will listen and they'll kind of be distracted by the instrumentals because they're overpowering. But I know like all of your music, so much of the heart and soul of it comes from your words. So what is the record actually about? Like, are these individual stories that you've crafted? Or like what was your headspace at the time?
Those are good questions. I was trying to reflect on my life, basically, I would say, and asking spiritual questions about if I'm using my time on Earth properly and things like that.
Sure.
That's how I look at the frames found in these songs. Like City Champs is a rap and sing type of song where there's both on there, and it's just I mean, I don't want to talk about psychedelic too much because I don't want people to get the wrong idea, but just it was a summer where I was busy in a meditative type of zone. And I wrote these lyrics. It was all about life and death to me, like how I
Okay.
try and keep these skull and bones in my mind everywhere I go, kind of like a Jolly Roger. So that's kind of my framing that I live with.
That makes sense. I understand. Yeah, I think a lot of your music in the conversations that we've had definitely stems from psychedelics at some point. But listen, there's a time and a place for everything here. Um, what I kind of want to know is like, like I mentioned before, is this sound is so different from everything that you've ever put out, but I really enjoy it. Like it's like a breath of fresh air from everything else. Do you ever see yourself potentially returning to something like this in the future?
I want to get to making some sounds similar to this pretty soon, actually. I'm going to be
Cool.
getting onto my computer to make music based with samples and also just other beats that I click in and stuff like that, or just whatever I do. But this for me, it's just, I don't want to call it easy, but just compared to playing the piano and stuff like that, it's just something that I enjoy. I enjoy the way that I can put pieces together and get a sound like that.
Yeah. No, that's a good answer. I think it's also different because so much of your music is improv. You know what I'm saying? Like it feels like 90% of the time you get to the piano and the music sort of just flows out of your fingers and then you create it. But when you're making music like this, that is a lot more technical, I think, in terms of using certain softwares and programs to create the beats and the programming and everything, you have to sort of become more methodical about it. What are the differences between your improv works and creating something like this?
It's definitely different, but what I find is that when it's kind of like sitting down at a desk with some art material like paint or something like that, and I start listening through different stuff, and there are stages to it for me. I ask myself, what type of category of sound will be good to start looking into, and then I start diving into that type of sound and listening to the sample that was in GarageBand
Sure.
or whatever else it might have been. Uh, a different folder full of samples like this,
Yeah.
and then I just find what sounds like musical to me that inspires the next idea, and then I build it together in an intuitive kind of process that feels kind of similar in some ways.
Okay. Do you get the same fulfillment out of making this type of music as opposed to more piano-based works?
I do with stuff like City Champs and Black Sheep and stuff like that. I'm actually playing it on a MIDI button. So
Oh, nice. Okay.
I perform the instrument that's digital with a button like this. So it did kind of feel like I was playing it and I enjoyed that.
Cool. Cool. Like always, I want to know, like, is there anything else on this record that you feel is important for people to know? Maybe like any themes you're covering or just like the process production side of things before people decide to listen.
I would just tell you that what you should expect is a mix of, I would say, like lo-fi indie electronica sounds and
Sure.
also some guitar here and there with a lo-fi vibe and some hip hop flavors mixed in.
Right. Were there any like artists or bands that you were channeling while making this type of music?
It's an interesting question because sometimes you hear people say that music with one type of mood relates to the music they make, which is a different kind of music.
Right.
So for me, it when I was saying that putting the tracks together felt kind of like, how can I make this cohesive even though the parts are different? That reminds me of Pink Floyd and Radiohead, I would say,
Interesting.
because they've got albums where different stuff happens on different songs, yet it still
Yeah.
sounds pretty good to listen to it beginning to end.
No, I fully agree. Honestly, two artists or two bands that I would never have guessed played a part in making this. Maybe not sonically, but in the process wise, I fully understand that.
If I had to trace an influence, I thought that when I was singing singing part in the song City Champs sounded kind of like
Mhm.
a Sufjan Stevens song, sort of, a little
Oh,
bit.
interesting. Another
There's
artist
some
that can
just
pretty
over
much
top.
do anything.
He's got his own hip hop and other ones to him. Yeah, exactly. So I just something about the way that the vocals were, something about how it was basically. I don't know, but as far as hip hop goes, like I don't have anything to reference really because it was just let me make some beats that I like and try to create my own flavor, I thought.
That's awesome. Um, are there any particular standout songs on this record that you think people would enjoy most? Obviously, I want to say I think it's best enjoyed from start to finish, but we know how people consume music. So is there anything that you're like, hey, if you're gonna listen to this, at least listen to these songs?
Yeah, my favorite songs from it are probably Can't Stop It With You
Yeah,
and Heresies and Foothills. Those are my favorite tracks.
right. And so I do want to talk about Heresies just for a sec because you also created a music video surrounding the song. And dude, it's just super fun. Like it's just fun. You know what I'm saying? How did that come to be?
The reason it came to be was because I gave myself permission to like not temper the vibe basically. So there was no escaping the fact that it was a lo-fi sound, so maybe I could have a lo-fi style video. That was the
Right.
first thing that came to me because you will notice if you watch it that it looks just like a janky slideshow at times because
I
it's a
guess,
different
but it
frame
definitely
that comes
fits the
in.
vibe.
It's artsy, you could say, to have that happen.
Totally.
Could be seen as artsy, perhaps, depending on who you ask. I'm not Harmony Korine or anything like that. I'm just me. But sometimes if you are, have a special branding like Vincent Gallo, it can be considered special to be like that. Like
Sure.
those guys are talented in what they do. Like, but I think it's lo-fi because of that. Is how I think it basically.
I agree fully. I also think like just in this day and age of music releases, music videos are becoming more underrated. And it's so nice to have a visual component because you're kind of seeing what the artist embodies the song to be. So when I played the music video, I had already listened to the song. So I had an idea of like what I thought maybe something like this would look like. And you just nailed it in the process of actually making it happen.
There was no denying that it felt to me like a meme image, basically.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
like sometimes you see that with some of the guys that are just memers, like Bill Murray and stuff. And it
Oh,
just
yeah.
feels like that.
Absolutely. Listen, I know you've got so much more music, but I just want to talk about this one a little bit more. Have you ever had the opportunity to play these songs live?
I haven't as of yet. So there's been so much hemming and hawing and drama over what my show is going to be.
Yeah,
Like I told you last time I was talking with you, the people like visual presentations, which was why the Hershey's video came about how it did.
right.
So I could be LARPing and I had been in the gym a lot. So, okay, let's show what that looks like, kind of like Masters of the Universe or something. But
Totally.
that's just a LARP to it. So basically, a song like Can't Stop It With You, I should just pull up to the shopping mall with a backing track and do a dance and sing type of thing.
There you go.
That's what's needed basically.
I
But
think so. I mean, listen, time will tell. We'll figure it out once it all happens. Um,
I do want to tell the fans one thing. I may be switching back to playing my normal acoustic guitar regularly when I play my gigs because I got some recordings. Sure, I like them on baritone guitar, how it sounds, but I
yeah,
play my normal acoustic at a higher level. And what I've resigned to do is just return to it. So that's a good look, not a bad one.
makes sense. Hey, listen, before we wrap up here, I just want to know, is there anything else about this record that you're just like excited about? Something that maybe surprised you while you were making it?
I just love the fact that I get to work with different sounds that are cool, such as the song Foothills and Redemption. It's just totally different from me.
Yeah, completely different, but just like it works. You know what I'm saying? It just works together.
It's a weird album, but somehow fun to listen to, especially if you look like lo-fi sounds, I think.
Right. Well, I wouldn't say somehow. I think it's legitimately a fun record. No matter if the people know you or not, like you can feel the passion coming off of everything, and that's why it works so well. And it's why I would recommend it to everyone to listen.
Well, that's the thing there. It's like I feel so deep in this web of creativity that
Yeah,
it's like it's almost more of like a spirit quest again, not just fun, but then it's like, no, we can have fun with music, even if I think it's
absolutely.
very spiritual, basically.
Completely agree. Listen, man, I want to thank you so much for taking the time. So, before we wrap up here, I want to let everyone know what this is, where they can find it. If you didn't know, I'm speaking with Wildcat Hawkins. The record is called Pre-Copernican. Of course, we will have the links so that you can listen and share and follow along and check out the music video and just consume all of it. If you haven't listened to his music, this is definitely an outlier compared to other records, but it also shows off what you're capable of making. And I think that's so special.
Austin, it's a pleasure to chat with you about this one, and I'll hopefully see you again sometime soon.
As always, man, listen, I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Take it easy, and we'll chat soon.
Yeah, thank you so much, Austin.
Take care. Bye bye.
You're on.